wanted to show you too also that you should be snipping here. If you look here on the pattern, it says center front and it has a line coming up there. Snip right there on that line. That's going to be important when we get ready to overlap our bodice front pieces. Okay, and the last piece that I noticed has kind of funny symbols or whatever that need to be carefully cut out. Is piece number 5, the skirt front and back. So 2 pieces need to be cut on the fold. So there's my fold line, and there's the side where it says cut on the fold. Okay, just make sure, like normal, you do your notches, which are the triangular parts. But mainly I want to bring your attention to this side over here, where it says left or for left side, and it's pointing to a circle. Don't mark right where the circle is, because the circle sits right on the seam allowance, and for some reason they put those things right on the seam allowance. I don't know why they put symbols there. If you're going to actually be, you know, using a marker or a pen or something to mark that spot, you're going to have a big circle that shows on the outside of your garment because it sits right on the seam allowance. So all you have to do is just right on the edge, right next to the circle, just snip. Just snip right through it. That's all you have to do. And then for the triangles next to it, I just cut that out like that. Now here at the bottom, I don't know if you remember back when we were cutting it out, I used the selvage edge for one edge of the of this piece. So I have selvage edge all here that can't fray or whatever, or it's not going to fray. And I have a, what is it called? I have triangles here. So really all you have to do is just snip through the triangles if you use the selvage edge, because you can't just imagine, or you know, whatever. You can't just make a little piece of triangle appear right there. So I snip there and I snip there. And then there's a circle right here if you want. If it's not too complicated for you, excuse me, you can do 3 snips right there, just so you remember where those 3 snips are. And you can snip once in the middle of the circle, and then once on both sides, on each of the sides. So it gives you like 3 snips right there. And then what connects on the bottom of this is that big ruffle piece. So if you go grab your ruffle piece, move that out of the way. You will see here that it has at the top a triangle. You see I didn't cut out the triangle like I did on the other pieces, so we're just going to snip here, right where that triangle is. Pardon me. Or I snipped already. Never mind. I already did a little snip there. But I'm going to snip through it anyway, because it doesn't look like it's going through all the layers. So I'm going to snip again. Snip. Alright, that's better. Okay, and then now over here on this side, if you don't sew a lot, you'll probably want to go ahead and snip these. Really, this whole ruffle is just going to connect end on end to itself to make one long piece of fabric, and then you're going to gather it up. So really, you really don't need to mark those, but it's helpful if you don't sew a lot. That way you don't miss any steps, and you make sure you do everything correctly, everything sews together correctly. Now here is the circle. What we're going to do, we're going to leave this like it is, because that you can tell by the way it's positioned, it's right on a seam line. So the only thing it's going to do, once we connect 2 of the ruffle pieces together, the circles are going to be there. And the circle's just telling you where the seam line is going to be. So that seam line we'll put right here where these 3 notches are. Okay? Cool. Hopefully that makes sense. So now we can get ready to sew it. Okay, next we need to sew piece number 3, and I'm actually going to be skipping around, that way you can get the important stuff sewn together, or some of the more simpler things sewn together, because you don't have to follow the directions exactly verbatim 1, 2, 3 ABC if you know how to sew anyway, and you know how to achieve the look that you're going for. So first thing you need to do is take piece number 5, or number 3, I'm sorry, piece number 3. It says shoulder strap AB on it. Okay, piece number 3. Now, you're going to take it, and right on that line, you're going to fold it in half, and then you're going to put it in your sewing machine, or under your sewing machine needle, and you're going to sew 5/8 of an inch away from that edge. So you'll come here and you'll sew 5/8 of an inch, and then what you'll get is this. So your folded edge should be here, and your open edge should be here, and then where you sewed is here. Okay, and that's going to end up making a very skinny shoulder strap, because this is all that's going to show once we flip it inside out. Now, before we flip it, we need to cut the seam allowance down. So we need to cut it down until it's this big. So if you hold these up next to each other, because you should have 2, so that's why I have 2 here, and I'm able to show you like this. This is what it should look like. So when you cut this off, it should be about that big, which means that your seam allowance here needs to be smaller than the width over here on this side. Okay, this needs to be smaller than that. That way you can easily turn it inside out when it's time to turn it, and all the fabric isn't bunching up on the inside. Okay. Alright, and then let's move on to the next. Now, one of the most frustrating parts of sewing is when you have to turn tubing inside out, which is what we've made here with this shoulder strap. We've made a tube. So what you can do, or what I've done, is gone right over to the end, and I backstitched a couple times just to kind of cap the end off. And from there, what I'm going to do is take something small, and that'll allow me to push the end in. So I'm going to try to grab it as best I can and see if I can turn this end over. And it's going to take me. So gradually, if you start to kind of work with it, you should be able to get that end finally pushed in. And then you're going to slowly keep pushing and pushing, and you may need to grab something else that you can push the end in there with. Here I grabbed my awl, and that's working a little bit because it's at least slender enough for this to slide up. But if you can find something that's like this small and it's real long, then that'll work a lot better. Now, this is a thing you can actually buy. I bought it a long time ago, and it's made for tubing. It's a real long, slender metal thingamaboober with this funny tip on it, and it's better for things that are really small like this. So if you can maybe push the end like this and kind of gather your tubing, and then come back down here and slowly start to straighten all of this extra out, then gradually you will get it, but it may take you a moment to turn this tubing inside out. So there's that. It's finally coming out. Thank you, Jesus. And once you get the majority of it pulled out of the tube, out of the other end, then you can take the little tube out, and you should be able to just do it by hand. And then you can take your iron and iron over it. But you see, it makes these really, really skinny straps. So in case you've ever wondered how they did that, that's how they do it. So That's it. Go ahead and turn the other one inside out. So you'll have two. And then now we will move on to